You are watching Xirtus.
This one sounds kind of fun and maybe obvious in a way to give it a try. So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
you got Sidney Lumet, directed by Sidney Lumet, one of my favorite directors. He's
Yeah.
got a lot of good movies. The Wiz with Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this was the first Motown movie, as far as I know. Like that was like a Motown produced film, right? So
Interesting.
yeah, no, there's a lot to unpack here. I don't know if I can go through all of it, but you might,
Oh,
if
okay,
you've seen
well,
this movie, you know how
also
weird it
Criterion
is.
Collection, which is good.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's the ground zero sequence in the middle of this movie with the sphere. You know about that? So,
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. Actually, I haven't seen it
oh
yet.
wow, okay. So when they actually arrive at Emerald City, hold on, let me get some water here.
It's on my list though.
Mm. So when they arrive at Emerald City, it's they open the what do you call it? Like a vault, right? It's like a bank vault, and they enter in. It leads them directly to what would be ground zero. So they're in between the two towers, and they perform this whole number there. That's the point at which the album repeats.
Okay.
So the first song on the album is called "Funeral for a Friend." Love lies bleeding in my hands. The way that song lands with that scene where they have this dance number performance with a grand piano at ground zero at the sphere is freaking nuts. So like this movie has like that this sync has a major payoff in the middle of the movie that's like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, you know, you're like looking around like, no, this can't be. So yeah, I recommend checking it out. I recommend watching the whole thing, but if you want to jump to that, I wouldn't judge you. Because holy cow. But yeah, I feel like there's more to say there. There's like if you look at the cover, you know, there's the bluebird there. See that bluebird in the distance? Like he's stepping
Yeah.
into an illusion, right? So he's stepping into a picture. Everything's run down, and it's like if you look at the backside of the cover too, this is like industry is taking over, everything's going to crap, but you're walking into this picture. There's the argument for the Wizard of Oz, you know, especially like when the film came out. Like it's weird. Like if you think L. Frank Baum, who was a theosophist. Did he know all this? I don't really know. I actually talk about this a little bit in my Sync Book 2 chapter. But that, you know, there's the argument that the Wizard of Oz was kind of like this subliminal programming to get us to accept paper currency rather than gold. Like it's backed by gold, but people are literally like trading in gold for paper. Like how like this, and it's because of the desperation coming out, wanting to come out of the depression, right? It's like the depression happened, and then like you know, so when that movie came out, we're coming out of the depression. So like there's the argument that the movie is like conditioning us to like accept like through being strong armed that in order for us to be okay we have to accept this new thing of paper currency. You know, we didn't have that. Everything is like, you know, physical metal, you know. So it's just like what are
Right.
we doing? So
Hmm.
the idea of this album, like obviously Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, it's like what is the yellow brick road? Is it gold leading to paper and fakeness? Because in the Wizard of Oz, you know, the wizard, he doesn't have any real magic. The witch, she's got real magic. She can make a goddamn fireball appear in her hand and throw it at the scarecrow. Like she's in touch with the elements, you know what I mean? Like, but he's got nothing. It's all just fake, you know. Like that's the thing of the wizard is that he's all using fear to control the population. And then like you know there's a whole thing like Glenda sends her off to what get the broom to like murder the witch. Like what? Like it's you know who. I mean, I'm not even going there. I'm not going to talk about Wicked. I don't care, like whatever it is what they did over there. Like I'm just like what the film is
Yeah.
because
Whatever.
I mean people
Whatever that is.
it's a different conversation to talk about film sometimes than it is to talk about a book. So like Kubrick is an obvious example of that. If we're discussing The Shining, are we talking about Kubrick's The Shining or are we talking about Stephen King's The Shining? You know what I mean? Like they're two different things. he made them his own. So like the film The Wizard of Oz, like if you just take it on its own level, like as though the book didn't exist, there's certain things that you can extrapolate. So to have this, you know, Motown version with Diana Ross and Michael Jackson and like everything about it, it's like it's already the alternate reality, like, you know, with the Silver Slippers, but then and Richard Pryor and whatever, you know, but then to take Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, this is like it's cosplaying a Motown album when it's not. You know what I mean? Like he's white.
Yeah.
There's not very many white Motown people. I think there's maybe one or two. You know what I mean? I think one of them was a drummer, maybe. You know what I mean? But like,
Right.
but there's something about like because sync sometimes will be like you can relate to things like opposites. You know what I mean? Like sync in the Bible. One of my favorite examples is the Hebrew word aram is the same word for cunning and naked. I was just talking about this on Sync Tank yesterday, actually, but like
Nice.
it comes up sometimes. But like these are two verses side by side in Genesis where the Adam and Eve are naked and not ashamed, and that same word appears in the very next verse for this introducing the serpent, who's the most cunning of all the creatures in the garden. Cunning is hidden, naked is exposed. So they're opposites. So they have the same word. But you'll find examples where things have the same gematria. So like Mashiach, the Hebrew for Messiah, has the same gematria as Nachash, which is serpent. So you have the serpent and the Messiah. Like if you know in Numbers 21, you know they put the serpent on the pole to heal the poisoned multitude. So they've been poisoned by serpents, and then there's the healing serpent. So you'll see this referenced in Freemasonry as the brazen serpent, right? But there's arguments that, you know, people have argued that that symbol for money with the S with the line through it is actually meant to be a serpent on a pole, you know, which speaks to Numbers 21. The first time that we ever had a coin that was referred to as a dollar, from Thaler or whatever, it's German. The first coin to have that pictured a serpent on the cross, a serpent on a pole on one side of the coin, and Jesus on a cross, on his cross on the other. And on the cross it said NU 21 for Numbers 21, which is where Moses puts the serpent on the pole in the Tanakh. And so, you know, and also that the gematria of those two words, Messiah and serpent, in Hebrew is 358, which happen to be Fibonacci numbers in order, which is interesting in regards to the serpent, if you ever read like the Cosmic Serpent or anything like that. So I'm just saying, like, I'll see that happen with album film stuff where sometimes it's like the reason why they resonate is because they're opposites. So like The Wiz and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road would be an example of that, even though the obvious connection is that they're both referencing the Wizard of Oz. They're both plays on the Wizard of Oz, but they're also like, you know, they're complementing each other in their different avenues, you know. So it almost feels like blasphemy to take a white guy and put him over the black film, you know, like, but that's what it wants to be. So I let it happen, and then I see what happens. And I'll tell you, man, when Love Lies Bleeding in My Hand plays at ground zero halfway through the film, it's like, oh my God, are you freaking kidding me? Yeah. And you know that story with that sphere, right? Between the two towers was so Wikipedia has changed. I have screenshots to prove somewhere in my hard drive of what it used to be. Also, there's Jake Coates videos that show it too, where they used to explain on Wikipedia that the sphere that was between the two towers was designed by the same person who designed those two towers, same main guy. It was his art project. And according to him, in his own words, it was meant to symbolize the Kaaba at Mecca. And they would turn the sphere every 24 hours to, in his own words, to symbolize the people who would rotate around the Kaaba, you know, at the end of their pilgrimage, to try and touch that stone that's in the corner of the Kaaba, the Ben or whatever, yeah, something like that, yeah. So, wow. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, it's super nuts. So yeah, for them to they perform a ritual in the film The Wiz, circling around that sphere that itself circles, that's meant to be symbolic of the Kaaba. And like, and coming out of what we came out, like, if you know the story of Malcolm X too, it's even more like, what the hell? Because this is the thing with Motown, is like, what did Malcolm X want that was different from Martin Luther King? He wanted Black people to have their own stuff, their own districts and businesses and all this stuff. And like that's kind of what Motown represents too, right? Like, I mean, it's not generally like militant like that. It's like it's pretty, it's pretty mellow, especially Marvin Gaye wrote so many songs, and Isaac Hayes for Motown, like what their philosophy wasn't the same as Malcolm X, but it was more similar to Malcolm X after he went to Mecca. So Malcolm X had his view, Farrakhan, and his whole
right.
What he was a part of with the Muslim Brotherhood. But when he actually went to Mecca, saw white Muslims, had to he got rocked psychologically because he had his own sense of what he was a part of. And then when he saw the greater view of what was actually there and what he was exposed to, and Jews as well, when upon his visit, and the way people were to the degree that they did, like the coexistence aspect, like he came back and shook Martin Luther King's hand, like he had this whole adjustment. And so it's weird to say, but I see all of that in something like Goodbye Yellow Brick Road with the Wiz. It's hard to explain kind of, but there's just when you take things that are apparently in opposition and you see them harmonize, there's something kind of really satisfying, reconciling about that, that's like alchemy, is when you take things that are apparently contrary and you see the way that they can harmonize,
Yeah, man, for sure. That's cool. That's a cool way of looking at it. I like that.
Sure.
Here's one that I was actually looking at earlier. Home Alone and Dangerous, Michael Jackson.
Yeah. It's even the timing of them, because a lot of these, it's this is an era, and if you live through it, then it's even more satisfying. Because I remember at the time, now I'm of the opinion, and this is well backed, and I'm not alone with this. I don't think Michael Jackson was a bad guy at all. In all likelihood, he himself was a victim of molestation and all kinds of abuse. And they came after him for other reasons, you know what I mean? So a lot of other reasons. It's not just one thing as far as I can tell. And so he got scapegoated like crazy. And there's some, this is a Dave Chappelle bit about Macaulay Culkin and Michael Jackson, where he's just if Macaulay Culkin says Michael Jackson didn't try anything on him, then that alone speaks volumes, because it's
yeah, right.
He's funny about it. He was I don't know about you, but if I was into children and I had Macaulay Culkin at my house, it seems like that he would have been number one target, but he didn't say that, so whatever. But I think what it was that Michael Jackson, having been abused himself, was more of a protector for people who themselves were also vulnerable to abuse or had themselves been abused. So I think it's interesting that Macaulay Culkin had the Pizza Underground, with the band that he was in was called Pizza Underground, where they took Velvet Underground songs and made them all about pizza. And then Pizzagate happens, and you're I don't know, it could be a coincidence, but it just feels was he ordered pizza? Is that what we're saying? Is I don't really know. But yeah, there's some good parts to this. Black or White, when it plays in this film, corresponds to when Kevin McAllister, Macaulay Culkin's character, steals a toothbrush, and he's running away, and the woman's like, "Stop, get that boy!" And he's slides across the ice, and he's all running away. Black and White plays for that part. It's pretty funny because it feels like it doesn't matter if you're black or white. You stole the goddamn toothbrush, they're coming after you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Back to MJ. What are your thoughts about what are they? The two, now there's two, the two documentaries, Leaving Neverland, and the kids now grown up who are behind involved in those movies, documentaries.
The best documentary I know of on Michael Jackson is actually called I think it's called A Man in the Dark, and it was produced by somebody named Jesse Goldsmith. It's over 4 hours long. There's no narration. It's almost like the style of what I did with Sorry Cassandra, where it's just a very carefully edited documentation back and forth throughout Michael Jackson's whole life, him on the dating game at 8 years old, flashing to him as an adult, and every time he clips back and forth, there's irony and implications. So
Okay.
it's incredible.
Not
Finding Neverland, you know, that whole documentary came out. It was, I think that's what it's called, whatever it was, the HBO one.
Yep.
The date that he gave for his claims, that the producer of that, Neverland hadn't been built yet. Like, he debunked
Really?
the whole thing. Yeah, he screwed up. Like, he made some serious claims, and central to those claims happening at all fall apart immediately when you look at the timeline. So he didn't do his proper his due diligence in making those claims. So yeah, it's a whole thing.
Wow.